Flosstube. Welcome to my channel. I'm Jessie, and this is Bobo Jessie Stitches. This is a channel primarily about cross stitching. For those of you who are new, and well as those who are returning, welcome in. I hope that you are all having a great day today. Today is Tuesday, March 1st. I know this is the second month in a row that I've recorded on the 1st of the month. That is not intentional. I don't know if we're going to continue this trend for the entire year. It'd be kind of funny if my boss all of a sudden notices that I'm always taking the first day of the month off. But that's not intentional. I had a medical procedure done yesterday, on Monday, the 28th, and I went ahead. I did have to work a little bit today, but I went ahead and took the day off as a recovery day, just in case I wasn't going to be quite up to snuff to work, so to speak. And I'm tired today. I have a headache. Basically, I didn't eat for 2 days, and when I did eat last night, it made me sick, and so so today I'm like gradually bringing food back in. So it's not that I'm feeling bad. It's just more of the lack of eating, feeling bad thing that's kind of happening. So don't feel bad for me. It's definitely and no worries. It was a pretty it was screening. We're trying to figure out what's going on with me, and but my doctor's not particularly highly concerned. Just trying to rule things out before we kind of sit on the diagnosis and prognosis, etc. So that's kind of what's going on with me personally. I also my insurance is Blue Cross Blue Shield, and my care was provided by Memorial Hermann, which is a major hospital system here in Houston, and fortunately they're in a contract dispute, and they canceled the contract yesterday. So I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to say that as a woman in my mid-40s, it's been very difficult in my adult life to find doctors who listen to my symptoms and believe me when I tell them that there's something not quite right, and trying to not brush my symptoms aside. It's been a very long process. A lot of doctors have been fired along the way. Trying to find the right person who didn't think of me as a hypochondriac and really took my symptoms seriously. And I finally found that. In a handful of doctors, and they are all part of the Memorial Hermann system. And for today to kind of basically learn that I may not be able to continue with them is a little bit concerning, and I don't know what I'm going to do. So let's hope that this is just temporary, and everything will work out okay. But I have long before today been a fan and an advocate for Medicare for All universal healthcare system. I don't think insurance companies should be making medical decisions at all based on money. But welcome to my channel, everyone who's new, just in case you wonder where I sit on certain issues. But things like this also is, how hard it is to find good care. And then when your insurance company basically impacts your ability to find good care, it's not a good place to sit in right now. It's been a rough week, y'all. Let's take a moment to kind of, I promise we're going to have a fun video. I promise. But I'm going to take a moment to talk about some rough things that has happened. It's rough. A lot of things have happened over the past week and a half, and within our community, within the world community, and I live in Texas, and things happening within the state of Texas, and so I wanted to bring up a couple of Flosstubers, because I don't feel like I need to repeat things that other people are doing and saying more eloquently than I am. But so let's talk about the hard things first. So first of all, the Craftivism and the Flosstubers that are working with around Craftivism. And what is Craftivism? It's activism through the craft, through our medium of artwork and whatnot. It comes in and this is not new, by the way, right? Artwork has always had have had messages within them always, all the way back. And when you start looking at even beginning, I'm sure that you can go further. I studied medieval and Tudor history, and that's where my history studies begin. But if you go for all the way back into medieval, right, the artwork that was created was religious artwork. That's messaging in that. It's like using artwork to convey messages to the masses, to the people. This is not a new thing. So don't anyone who's like, what's craftivism? This isn't new. We're just using modern terminology for it, right? So, but let's first talk about Ukraine and stitching for Ukraine, and acknowledging that we have a sovereign nation that's being attacked by another nation. And I will say this: if you're not new to me and you're new to me, I have a master's in East European and Russian studies. I have a love-hate relationship with Russia. Is what my joke always is. It's not an easy country to live in, but the people I know there and the people who I met on my academic journey in that world were amazing and robust people. And don't cast a wide brush on a nation for the actions of its leaders. It's There are people who disagree, and don't and recognize that not everyone has the space and ability to be able to convey their opinions. It's an authoritarian nation. People have disappeared for speaking their minds, and this is a man who tried to murder his opponent. I mean, I think that's pretty well established and known. So it's not everyone feels comfortable speaking out, and that is what happens when you live in an authoritarian nation. Getting called out for saying something that people disagree with you is not a violation of your freedom of speech. It's being called out for you saying what you can say under your freedom of speech. But guess what? You say what you want to say. People have the right to respond to that. And I know I'm going to say things that people aren't going to agree with. And if you want to respond to that, that's your right to do so. I mean, you have the freedom to convey that to me. I also have the freedom to block you if I think you go too far. It's just the way it works in a freedom of speech country. But just kind of be aware that not just because you're Russian and you're not speaking out doesn't mean that they feel comfortable doing so. But the fact that there are people in the streets in Russia, it says something, right? And gives me hope. It gives me hope that even under authoritarian systems, that there will always be people who will fight for what is right. But thinking about that, Laura at Tossier Stitches, I don't know if I pronounced that right, is on her Instagram as well as on her Flosstube. She has talked about a fundraiser that she has started to support Ukraine, and she's also has a living Google document of Ukrainian designers in our cross stitching and embroidery community. So if you want to go out and directly support them, go take a look at that. Everything will be linked below. So go take a look at that and make sure that you, if you're interested in either supporting the designers or supporting the agencies and organizations that are doing the work on the ground to help the individuals in the country there, go check out her Flosstube as well. In the state of Texas and even throughout the entire country, there has been a lot of attacks recently on the LGBTQIA plus community, and please go check out D's 20 Stitches as well, because they have a lot of information on how you can do activism there and to be able to support the individuals that are being impacted by it. Know that there is a legal response that will happen, but that doesn't mean that there are individuals and other agencies that you can put your support behind to support these individuals who are going to be impacted. And then last but not least, I also wanted to bring up Daybreak Stitchery, which is Nitka. And first of all, if you're not following her, I always learn something every time I watch her Flosstube videos. She has a wonderful way of conveying information and studying, and she goes down wonderful nerdy loopholes and really vets the content that she shares. And so I always learn a lot. I always feel like a richer person after watching her. But she is doing for International Women's Day, this is Women's History Month is March, starting today. She is also hosting a fundraiser and conveying information on an organization called Expanding Lives, which is a nonprofit that helps elevate young women in Nigeria to be able to pursue careers in education. It's not uncommon for young women in some of these nations, and even, well, any nation really, where once they get their periods, basically, that they get withdrawn from school. They don't finish their education. There's shame associated with that. And so this is a nonprofit that's really kind of working to elevate girls and women, make sure that they finish their education, move on into careers. And so go check out her video, as she talks about it in a much better way than I can. So those are my 3 activism floss tubers that I wanted to say, that if you're feeling drained by this week about everything that's going on, that here you can go to these 3 individuals who have done the work, who have done the vetting, and and you can do that. I'm also going to kind of talk a little bit about the work I do. I'm a legal aid attorney. I work in legal aid, and I'm going to kind of tell y'all the same thing that I tell my team and my staff of people when you're working and dealing with hard things, which is that you work on your part of the world, right? Like, you have to have self-care. You do have to put your own mask on first. You have to learn how to create emotional boundaries around you when all of this wave of stuff, right? All of this wave of people who are hurting, people who are needing help, and all of their individual problems that are creating life impacting situations are it's just flooding your senses, and it's just flooding you. You have to learn to create the barrier. And it's not choosing not to have empathy. It's not choosing not to care. It's learning how to stop the wave, right? And then you focus on the part of the world and the part of the focus that you can do. Money, if you have money and you have the ability to share that, that is a wonderful resource to do. Do that. Go purchase. Go donate to the agencies. I will tell you, working in the nonprofit sphere, unrestricted funding that allows these agencies to do what they need to do with the money without being restricted by their grants that they receive, or federal funding that they receive, or state funding. There's usually conditions to how you can spend that money. So the unrestricted funding that comes from donations from you and me makes a huge impact on them being able to diversify the things that they are able to do, and scale some of the things that they're able to do. So money is a good thing. Any dollar amount that you can contribute matters. It helps. So that is one thing that you can do, but not everyone has money that they can convey, right? Not everyone can do that. I also want to encourage you that if you have a skill, if you have the ability to donate your time. So what do I do in my work? I recruit volunteer attorneys who practice, who don't do this for a living. They work in the private bar, and I recruit them to try to get them to do pro bono work, to take cases that are for my clients who can't afford legal services in family law, estate planning, probate, evictions, like all of these things that having an attorney makes a huge difference in protecting your rights and in maintaining your housing, etc. So I recruit volunteer attorneys to donate their skill and their time. Only lawyers can do lawyering work, right? And so I spend a lot of time recruiting those people, because that work matters. And they're like, well, I'm only taking one case. I can do one case at a time in a year. I can only donate 5 hours of my time because of my work and my personal life, etc. That matters to that one person that takes that case, whose life is now being impacted because you got them a divorce from their abuser, and now they're free from that cycle. That's impactful, right? That's impactful work. And so if you got skills, please consider donating them. Go find a nonprofit that utilizes volunteers to provide legal services. If you're an attorney or another legal professional, if you work within the health space, are you a person who can provide gender confirming care? I'll tell you that the focus in Texas is on parents providing gender affirming care to their children. It's difficult to find that care for adults as well, and that's covered by insurance, and and you have people choosing as adults to not obtain care because they can't get the care that they need. And so if you're within the health space, whether in medical whether doctor, nursing, therapist, like consider going out and trying to figure out how you can donate your services and provide care. Um, you know, if you are able to make things, right? There are people who are, who need things made. So think about what skills you have. Donate your skills. And if you can't donate your skills or your money, donate your voice. Make people not feel so lonely, right? Like, and not in this space. I'm not asking you to go out and make floss tubes or videos or things like that. In your personal space, just, sometimes just as simple as changing your Facebook profile picture so that people know that you're a person who cares and that you may be a safe space to fall also makes a difference. So, anyways, 15 minutes in already, but I just wanted to kind of, I know that a lot of people put all this information at the end of their floss tubers to allow people who are here just for the cross stitching to be able to watch just the cross stitching and go from there. And I'm gonna say I always watch the life updates. I always figured that the people I'm watching are people who I would be friends with in real life if I met you. If I'm subscribing to you and I'm watching you, I think we're friends in real life, right? Like, even though we may not meet, even though we haven't met. And so I want to know what's going on in your life. I want to know what you're reading. I want to know what you're watching. And, did you get your new furniture? Like, I am interested in all of that because while I'm here to watch your progress in your projects, that's our shared thing, right? That's our shared interest is our cross stitching. But I care about your lives. I care about who you are, what you think, how you're feeling, and I like to believe that if you're watching me, that you care about my life, what I'm feeling, and the weight of this week has, I think, been heavy on a lot of people, and man, I didn't even talk about the Confederacy stuff. Whew, racism bad, y'all. Let's just end it there. So, but now let's talk about some fun stuff. I do try to keep these lighthearted, and I try not to make things too political on this page because our hobbies are a way of self-care, of creating that boundary, right? Like, that's one of the reasons why you need to do this. So that way you are able to put your energy and focus, meditate, do what you need to do, get your emotional boundaries up so that way you can be hyper focused on whatever else is going on in your life where you need to put your energy into. So let's talk about some cross stitching. Okay. All right. February. First, let's finish talking about Flosstubers. All right, I did watch some new Flosstubers. I want to go ahead and give some shout outs. And I have watched a lot, so I'm going to only talk about two. I'm going to talk about three, but two that are new to me Flosstubers. And so that way you can go check them out. The first one is Needleberry Stitcher. Catherine is her name. Relatively new. I think she started at the beginning of January, but I think she's already up to like video 8. I think she's pretty much making a weekly video. Lots of Mirabilias and Dimensions kits. Prolific. Like, I think her whip count is 75 or something. But she's really funny. Her first couple of videos are a little awkward, as all of our first couple of videos are, but she's really gotten in tune she's gotten into her space, right? So if you watch Pam Stitching the Land of Good Enough and you kind of like her tone, her vibe and everything, you're going to like Catherine at Needleberry Stitcher. So go check her out. And then another one that I was watching, she is actually pretty brand new. She only has 2 videos on. That's Maxine at Nightmare Before Stitchmas. Another nerdy stitcher. Really, really had a lot of fun watching her first video. And so I'm looking forward to seeing all of her progress going forward. So check out Maxine at Nightmare Before Stitchmas. Again, everything down below. Last but not least is not a new to me Flosstuber, but just wanted to go ahead and shout her out, which is Amber at Rogue Mama Stitcher is trying to get to 500 subscribers. She's been hovering around 430, and when I checked this morning, that's where she was. Let's get her up there. I mean, there's some things that actually happen when you get to 500 subscribers. Shorts, you get to like do things like posts and stuff like that. It's weird how YouTube gives you like different things that you can do when you hit a certain threshold. I don't know what that threshold is in the 1,000 subscribers because I'm perpetually in the just over a 500 subscriber club. But let's get Amber up there. Rogue Mama Stitcher. Go check her out. If you're not already subscribed to her, go subscribe. A variety of different kinds of stitching and a lot of fun. All right, now let's talk about cross stitch. Okay, short month, 28 days. And I worked on a total of 5 projects. 2 of those I only worked on for a couple of days, so nothing to really write home about, but I'm going to still show you my progress on that. In total, I put in 9,939 stitches. In the month of February, I stitched for 23 days, so there were 5 days I didn't stitch because we either had things to do, wasn't feeling well, various things, right? One of the things that Catherine does at Needleberry Stitcher is that she talks about trying to hit a daily average goal. Never really thought about that. And I was like, that's pretty interesting. I think that's a good idea. And so I went back and looked at my stitch average total for the whole month. Like I didn't like average it for the days I actually stitched. And from September through December. And I averaged around 370 to 380 each month per day of stitching. And I thought, that's not too bad. That's not shabby. And I was like, if I actually did that, that's a lot of stitching in a year. And so I thought about trying to do 400 stitches a day. That's a huge increase if you really think about it. I know that it's really not, but I don't stitch every day. So I was like, that's a lot. So I'm kind of creating like a new goal for myself, which is to try to stitch 375 stitches on average a day. So we'll see how I stick to that, but with a long shot goal of trying to hit 400. But hopefully, maybe I'll pick up some pace and get to 400 on average. But so my average for the month was 355 stitches, and that's divided by 28, right? So because, and I think that's not too bad. Yeah, I don't think that's too bad. All right. So those are my overall totals. So let's talk about projects. Just regular black tea today, trying to get rid of my headache. All right. So first up, I'm going to go from least to most. Ooh, let me roll my chair over so I'm not leaning. So first up is, so I had told y'all that on patriotic holidays, I was going to stitch on a liberty or justice piece. And typically I would do that. But I kind of made a decision in the middle of February that I'm going to make a new goal, which was that I want to finish all of the projects that I started before 2021 this year with caveats, with my little asterisks. This does not include Sailor Moon Squad, which is, right, my Tilton Crafts piece, giant piece. That is my goal on that. Still continues to be to finish 1 Sailor Scout this year, hopefully maybe 2, but the goal was 1 Sailor Scout a year. And hoping to be able to do more than that because, I want to finish this in less than 10 years. But so that excludes Sailor Moon Squad. I don't plan on trying to finish Sailor Moon Squad this year. And also it does not include my time capsule projects because there were so many of those and all in varying states. So those are not included. So this is basically since my revival in cross stitching about 2-3 years ago, is kind of where I wanted to focus on. So as a result of that, for my patriotic stitching this year, except for when I pull it up and make it a focus piece, I decided that my only project that was justice-esque is Liberty Quaker, Luminous Fiber Arts, aka Nuts About America. So that is what I pulled out. I worked on it for 1 day, and here is what I did. So basically, the last time you saw it, I had not done a lot. I didn't do that much. I worked on this for 1 day and put in 320 stitches. So basically, I finished this part of the stars. So it was basically, just imagine that part wasn't done. I basically finished this part of the stars, and I started filling in the color there. I am doing this on 32 count Belfast linen, Mountain Baker Blue by Lakeside Linen. Doing it 2/2 with all the called for floss, including weeks, General Arts, and DMC. I started this in September of 2020, so not a lot done on that in general, but I think this is something in theory, I could get done this year. It will become my focus piece at some point in time in the summer, probably. So that was the first one up. So yeah, so 1 day, 320 days. I worked on that on President's Day. That was the federal holiday where I needed to work on a patriotic or liberty piece. Next up is Christmas Tree by Barbara Anna. I don't, oh, where'd you go? There's not a full picture of it, but this is the card that I got that tells you what it looks like. So I ended up working on this because it met a prompt for No New Starts Road Trip, which is one of my challenge groups that I am working on. Working on 2 challenge groups this year. No New Starts. I'm doing primarily things in the road trip, not in the main group, as my way of kind of moving my projects forward. And I'm also in the Stitching Fandom group, which is themed to Star Wars this year. And hopefully I'm able to kind of combine these projects, but so that's also my other challenge group that I'm working on. All that information below. I don't think you can join No New Starts at this point. It's a closed group at this point, but you can, if you are a Star Wars fan and like Star Warsy things, or just want to be and don't mind doing Star Warsy themed cross-stitching challenges, go check them out. This month we're doing Clone Wars, the series is where we are. So basically we're watching a movie every month and doing challenges based on that. So, and you can join anytime. So anyways, here is Barbara Anna's Christmas Tree. This is a kit from Nitka Moscow. And what I basically did was I had to put in about 500 stitches, and that is this entire branch right here. So everything else was done the last time you saw it, and so I added that last branch. I'm probably going to go ahead and take another day to finish off that branch and get that filled in and to do that. So yeah. Spring equinox is coming soon. And my thought was I was going to continue working on winter-themed, Christmas-themed stitching until the spring equinox. So I might be able to get one more day in here and kind of do that. I feel like it's misleading, right? It's misleading. There's a lot left. It's you think it's not a lot, because there's this top branch, but on this side is also all of these snowflakes that need to get stitched in, right? And the more you start stock, the longer it takes. So I don't know. I'm thinking of picking one day in March, like a weekend day, like a Saturday or a Sunday, and focusing on Christmas Tree and see if I can finish it in one day. Like if I, right, on a day when I'm not doing anything, where I'm just like, I'm just at home cross-stitching and watching TV, like I can get in a good 800 to 1,000 stitches in a day. So maybe my husband is raiding this weekend. Have fun storming the castle. He plays Destiny as his, he's a gamer, and it's a raid weekend. And so I'm going to be a raid widow, so to speak, this weekend. And so maybe we'll see. 2/2 with the called for DMC provided in the kit. All right. Boop, boop, boop. Moving right along. Next up is a new start, y'all. This is a new start for me. Now, I'm sorry, I should have printed this in color and I didn't. And so this was from Forbidden Fiber Co. Modern Tidings. So that's the pattern, and I'm sorry it's not in color. Next month I'll have it in color. And so this was not a mystery stitch, because you had the pattern right from the get-go, but you were supposed to open up a color every single day if you wanted to maintain the mystery. And it was, in theory, a stitch along that you finished by Valentine's Day. That did not happen for me. I did keep up for a few days, and then I did not. But go check out my Instagram. I did take pictures every day of all the colors as they were released. But Here, I'm going to go ahead and try to show you a bit of a floss drop. Oh no, my computer. Hold on one second, technical difficulties. When my screensaver kicks on my computer when I'm recording, it freezes the frames. So I don't know if it's still recording. I can't see what's happening. So I have to stop and restart. Anyways. All right. So this is a new start. This is Modern Tidings. This is the Downton Abbey themed kit from Forbidden Fiber Co. Let me show you what I did. Whew, not iron at all. So here it is. So that's where I got. So the name of the fabric is Countess. Now, obviously, everything is Forbidden Fiber Co. So this is 32 count Belfast linen. Doing this 2/2 with the color Forbidden Fiber Co. fabric in flosses. And so I've done the bottom of it. Look at that movement in that. Don't you see that? I mean, isn't that just... Like, you can see her dancing. I mean, you really can. So, let's see if I can do just a super... Like, those are the colors in there. So, lots of fun. I have been watching Gilded Age, which is on HBO. If you have access to HBO, you can check it out there. It is not Downton Abbey, so don't go watching it and thinking it's Downton Abbey. But it's by Julian Fellowes, which is the creator of Downton Abbey. And man, I find it to be such a fun show. I can't decide if you're supposed to like the people or not, because they're not necessarily likable people, right? So, the Gilded Age. So this is the age of the robber barons, the rise of the wealthy in the United States, which happens post Civil War. So really, you're looking around 1870, 1880s as people you start seeing the wealth. So you're thinking of Carnegie, Vanderbilt, Edison, those people, Morgan, and even Ford would be considered within that, although he's a little bit on the later end of that time frame. But like, right, these are the American Titans. These are not good people, right? Like, if you actually go and like read the history of our American Titans, they're not good people. They treated their workers terribly. They were, but this is the rise of the mega wealthy of the United States. It's not the old money, not the right. And so when you think about, if you are a fan of Downton Abbey and Cora, which is the American heiress who married in, right? She's the one, it's her money that saved Downton Abbey. And so that it's kind of the wealthy that's happening in the United States that are, is kind of the rise of that. And so Julian Fellowes was thinking about, like, he was very curious about what led to that and everything in the American age. So yeah, but it's fascinating and it's fun. It has Kristen Baranski in it, Audra McDonald, which are, Carrie Coon, who, get that woman an Emmy. I mean, she was spectacular in Leftovers, so we're fans of hers now. But we're really enjoying it. So in my mind, I don't know how many more episodes are left in the seasons, but right now, this is going to become my Gilded Age project. So, beginning now, I'm trying to meet some goals and everything. So every Monday night, I'll be working on Modern Tidings. This is not obviously I didn't start this in before 21, so this kind of violates my current goal, which is to work only on those projects that were prior to 2020 or prior to 2021, but that's themed. How can it not be themed? And of course, I don't know if my husband and I are going to rewatch anything for Downton Abbey in anticipation for the movie, but if we do any Downton Abbey watching, this will be the project I work on. So, all right. Next up, I ended up working on 2 focus pieces. And so first up is going to be Cinderella. So this is Cinderella Wishes Upon a Dream. The kit is by MCG Textiles. Artwork's by Thomas Kinkade. This is out of print. So this ended up being my focus piece. Now, I know what you're thinking. Jessie, this you said you're going to try to finish everything that except for Sailor Moon Squad that you started before January 1 of 2021. That includes Cinderella. So yes, I am going to try to finish Cinderella this year. So here is where I am. Basically, from the last time that you saw it, I put in one column. I worked on this for 9 days. I put in 2,978 stitches. It does not include the French knots and the back stitching that I did. So I essentially did all of the back stitching that was left to be done over here in this bottom corner here. I did all of the back stitching unless it ran into anything I hadn't stitched over here. So I did all the back stitching and I did all of the French knots on this side, and then I added pretty much from here down, well, no, let me go this way. So pretty much from here, like the vase to over this way is what I added in. And my goal was to do 5,000 stitches in this every month. I did not hit that, obviously. I only got to about 3,000 stitches in February. But this is the goal, is 5,000 stitches a month in this project. I think, if my math is right, if I focus on it at that level, I'll finish it by the end of the year. Barely, but it can be done. It will also probably likely become my monogamous project in May. I do monogamous May. So this will, I did monogamous May for this last year. I anticipate doing it again this year. So that's where we are. Now, if you follow me on Instagram, you may have seen the saga, which is MCG Textiles and the mistakes that they made. So a long time ago, I had already figured out that there was a mistake involving the threads for the greens, which is that instead of having two different color greens, I think I got this, they're actually the same color in different numbers. I didn't worry about it. My eyes are not perfect, and I thought maybe my age and eyes could not distinguish between the greens. I don't know. And so I went ahead and stitched it as called, not making any difference, and just kind of hoping that when it's done, you'll be able to see. But you can tell, like, the greens are not the same, right? Because if you look at this tree and this tree, like, there's not a whole lot of depth there when you compare it against the, where'd it go? Here it is. But like if you compare it against the model stitching, you can see that there's a lot more dimension to those trees compared to mine, right? Like you can see that the lime green is, there's more lime green there than in the model. That's okay. I'm just gonna accept it. I figured that's fine. I know it's there, but you can't really tell. But here's another particular problem. See this blue right here? Boop, 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 boop. Which I thought, oh, it's a bridge. It's going over a batch of water. No. Y'all, take a look at that. Do you see it right there? That's the cobblestone. It's the bridge. It's the bridge continuing over. I went back and double checked the pattern and everything. I have stitched it correctly according to the pattern as called. They have put in the pattern all of that has blue. So some people reached out and told me their various opinions on it. So I definitely had a couple of people, more than a couple of people were like, leave it. Like, don't worry about it. They were like, it's just part of the story, the mistakes of MCG Textiles and, etc. Like, don't even worry about it. One person even said they liked it better. They thought it was the water. And so just to leave it as is. And so Right now I'm going to leave it as is. Mostly because it's just a lot. That's a couple hundred stitches, right? So I'm gonna leave it as is. I'm gonna wait and see. All sorts of fluff all over me. I'm gonna kind of finish the page out, and I'm gonna see how it looks once it's all said and done. And then I'm gonna decide at that point if I'm gonna frog it and stitch it correctly. I basically lose a day. I think I would lose a day to that. But you know what? If I'm gonna just see how I feel. My thought process was that one of the things that made me worried was that I wouldn't have enough floss to finish the rest of, if there's more grays, and like what happens if there's just not enough floss. So my thought was, if I'm going, this is going to be one, the statue right here in this corner is going to be one of the last things I stitch, because I'm going to go back to the, I'm going to finish this side, and then I'm going to go back to the top here and go down. So this little guy, the statue, is going to be the last thing that likely gets done. And so my thought process was that if I decide to frog the mistake and put in the grays there, that I can probably from stash recreate different grays for the statue if I end up running out of floss for that. So that's my thought process on it. The likelihood is I will correct it. I figure that I've worked on this for so long. I love the piece, and even though I know that other people may not know that it's a mistake, I feel like I know it's a mistake, and I think I would feel better if it got corrected. So that's where we are. So, all right. Excuse me. Last but definitely not least is the one project I worked on the most, which is Hello Dear by Caterpillar Cross Stitch. Oops, where'd you go? Oh, here you are. All right. And this is what it will look like when it is done. So yeah, I worked on this a lot. I kind of had it in my weird brain that I was going to be able to finish this in February. I don't know why I thought that. I also don't know where it is. Here it is. And so this is a kit from Caterpillar Cross Stitch. It's a 28 count even weave, doing it 2/2, and here it is. And basically what I did was, last time you saw it, I had just the top half of the deer done, and then like a little bit of the tree. So I finished this whole bottom part, or the bottom, and then I came up, added these leaves, and I put in the robin. In total, I worked on this for 8 days, and I put in 3,335 stitches into this guy. So there we are. Okay. That's it. That's everything I worked on. So let's talk about some plans. I think that March is going to be more of the same of February. I think, as I said, I'm thinking about putting in, like, planning a day to work on Christmas Tree by Barbara Anna, to see if I can get it done. Like, if, I'm getting pretty close to, I'm almost at a fever finish for that. So see if I can get that done in a day, maybe 2. And then kind of go through the rest of the month. Continue working on Cinderella. See if I can put in 5,000 stitches into that in the month of March, and maybe even more. Let's see if I can get 8,000 stitches in, catch up on the fact that I didn't quite get to 5,000 in February, and then probably continue working on Hello Dear at least until the spring equinox, and I think that's going to kind of be my plan. So in general, just in case you're wondering, I have 7 projects that I started prior to 21. And that includes Cinderella, Sailor Moon Squad, which of course is not part of my goals, Liberty Quaker, Pumpkin Thieves by Madame Chantilly, which you haven't seen today, Hello Dear, Christmas Tree, and then Happily Ever After by Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery. So those are my projects that are that I started prior to February 1st. And so my goals for this year is to finish those. So I'm going to continue working on Hello Dear and Christmas Tree in March, and Cinderella in March. And I think what I'm going to do for Happily Ever After is, uh, it was originally a year-long stitch-along, I believe, is to work on one story a month. And I already have um, basically January and February done. So beginning in March, I'm going to try to put in one story every month. And then if I keep up with that through the end of the year, that will be one of my last finishes in the year, but it will be finished. And then once I get all that done, then I'll start, working on the projects that were started in 21, and then possibly some working on some new starts, even though I am in no new starts. I started like a bunch of stuff, right? I started 3 things in January, and then of course the one in February, and I'm like, this kind of violates the spirit of no new starts, doesn't it? But it's also making me realize I don't have enough projects to really warrant being no new starts. It's like I don't have like 70 whips that I can like pick and choose from and like really try to make dents in and stuff like that. I only have a total of 16 projects in total right now, just 16 projects, and so actually 15 because I finished one already. So I'm kind of like, that wasn't my. I don't know if that was the best play, but that's okay. The idea behind it, right, is to try to get some major progress in the things that you're getting done. I'm still purchasing patterns, and I'm just like, oh, I want to work on these other things, but then I have these things I'm already working on. I want to get them done. So I don't know if it's feasible and possible to get to a stage where I can start projects and finish them in like a relatively short period amount of time. But let's see what I can do. I'm not. I enjoy not being a monogamous stitcher. I enjoy working on different projects and moving things around and everything. So, but I also like focusing. So I'm gonna stick to this plan for March. Goal 375 stitches a day on average for the month of March, and but we'll see how that goes. We got a jam-packed March, y'all. March is Houston Livestock and Rodeo month here, and it's back in person. My husband and I have tickets to 3 performances in March. We also have, in addition to the 3 livestock shows that we're going to, we have an event with my alumni group. My husband's birthday is at the end of the month, and we did have tickets to Ben Plath, but he canceled the show, probably rightfully because of COVID. We're going to be wearing N95 masks, y'all. We're going to be really super safe as best as we can. Both of us are fully vaccinated and boosted, and so we're going to do our best to stay healthy. But we got a jam-packed March. But anyways, what's else? What else? What else is new? What else we need to talk about? I did have haul. I did have Forbidden Fiber Co.'s Sip and Stitch Treasure Trove. There is a unboxing of that video, so I'm not going to talk about that today, but I did have that. I also did get a Fabric of the Month Club from Yummy Fiberlicious. That's not here. I did get that. And I also did buy a pattern from AIDA. One of my things, what's driving me to want to finish Cinderella this year, I really want to start this new full coverage piece that I just purchased from AIDA. It'd be my first AIDA. Right? Heaven and Earth Designs, for those of you who don't know the acronyms of Heaven and Earth Designs. So it'll be my first AIDA, and so I'm really wanting to start it, but I cannot convince myself to start another full coverage piece that's gigantic while I have Cinderella and Sailor Moon to work on. So, and I've also got a few pre-orders. Not a few. I think I have just one, maybe 2 pre-orders for Nashville, and but yeah, see, and I also have all these projects that are kitted. Anyways, just in case for those of you who watched before and are wondering, you're like, hey, the room looks the same, Jessie. I thought you were getting your new quilting table. Yes and no. So I did get called and given me a delivery date that was mid-February. I even took the day off from work, everything. I was so excited, ready for that to happen. And then unfortunately, the owner's person making the delivery, his truck broke down the day before I was scheduled to get my delivery. It was not going to get repaired for a few days, and then he had to go and do an out-of-town show, and that he told me that basically the delivery was getting postponed for a couple of weeks, at minimum until the beginning of March. So he told me in the phone call that he hoped to get those delivered in the first week of March. So I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that he'll be coming either this week or next week. I haven't gotten a phone call from him letting me know if he's coming or not this week. So I'm assuming it's not this week. But the room has been mostly emptied out. A lot of it has already been moved out, and so we'll so hopefully next month you'll see a new craft room. It won't be, we'll see. So, all right. Well, I think that's it. I talked about my craftivism. Hopefully I didn't lose anybody. If I did, the only time I ever unsubscribe from somebody after watching them is if I don't feel like it's a safe space for me. And, because boundaries, right? But I hope not. I hope I didn't lose anybody today. But, if I did, that makes me sad. It makes me sad, but hopefully I didn't. Thank you for listening through that. For those of you who did listen through it, I appreciate it. I hope that, to the extent that maybe you heard about those individuals from me for the first time, go check them out. Self-care matters, y'all, and it's okay. We can't, it is really hard to be an individual and think that you can't do a lot, and you can't, right? You're a singular person. It's hard to do a lot. Individuals don't have a lot of power, depending on who you are. Some individuals have a lot of power, but most of us, we're regular folks, right? Just out here trying to live our lives, being the best people that we can be, and being kind to each other. And, but you do your little part. I do my little part. They do their little part. Together, we'll do our part. And then together, things will get better. And that's all you can hope for, right? So, I appreciate every single one of you. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I guess it's been about an hour now. I hope that after the craft visit that you enjoyed everything that you saw, and that you had some fun with me today. And yeah, wherever you are, I hope you're having a stitching good time. And you take care of one another, all right? Bye, everyone.